They would not understand why paper controls your life. Imagine taking an ancient human from a small hunting camp and dropping them into the modern world for one day. They see roads full of metal animals. They see towers taller than cliffs. They see people staring into glowing stones. They see food sitting under bright lights in giant buildings. And then they notice something strange. Nobody just takes what they need. Everyone stops first. Everyone pulls out a little rectangle, a card, a phone, a piece of paper, a number on a screen. And somehow, that invisible symbol decides whether they can eat, sleep, travel, heal, rest, or survive. To an ancient human, this would look insane. Not because they were stupid, because money is one of the strangest ideas humans ever invented. It is not food. It is not fire. It is not shelter. It is not water. It is not a spear, a tool, a blanket, a berry, or a piece of meat. Money is a belief system. It is a shared story powerful enough to move entire civilizations. And the ancient human would feel that immediately. They would watch someone hand over a colorful piece of paper and receive a meal. They would watch someone tap a plastic card and walk away with clothes. They would watch someone stare at a phone, press a button, and suddenly own something across the city. They would ask the obvious question: why does everyone obey the symbol? That question is more dangerous than it sounds, because once you ask it, money stops looking normal. It starts looking like a spell. Not magic with dragons and wands. Human magic. The kind where millions of people agree that something has value, and because they agree, it becomes real. This is what would confuse ancient humans most. They knew value. They knew hunger. They knew warmth. They knew danger. They knew a sharp stone mattered because it could cut. They knew a fire mattered because it could keep the night away. They knew a deer mattered because it could feed the group. They knew a good tool mattered because it could save effort. But money has no obvious power by itself. If you were cold, a dollar bill would barely warm you. If you were hungry, you could not eat a debit card. If a wolf came toward you, your bank account would not scare it away. So the ancient human would not see money as power at first. They would see it as a symbol that other people treat like power. That is the key. Money works because humans believe other humans will believe in it tomorrow. You accept money today because you believe someone else will accept it later. The cashier accepts it because the landlord accepts it. The landlord accepts it because the bank accepts it. The bank accepts it because the government accepts it. The government accepts it because everyone has agreed or been forced to play the same game. That is why money is not just an object. It is a network of trust, and trust can become stronger than stone. An ancient human might understand trade first. Trade is simple. I have fish, you have berries. I give you fish, you give me berries. Both of us understand what happened. The value is visible. The exchange is physical. The deal ends in your hands. But money changes the shape of trade. Now I do not need to want your berries. I only need to want the thing everyone else wants. Money becomes the middle object. It turns every possible trade into one universal trade. Fish becomes money. Money becomes berries. Berries become tools. Tools become shelter. Shelter becomes status. Status becomes power. The whole world becomes connected by the same invisible bridge. That is brilliant and terrifying. Because once everything can be translated into money, money can start translating everything back. Your time becomes money. Your body becomes money. Your attention becomes money. Your home becomes money. Your safety becomes money. Your future becomes money. This is where an ancient human would begin to worry. They would look at modern people and notice that many are not being chased by predators, but they are still afraid. Afraid of rent. Afraid of bills. Afraid of losing a job. Afraid of prices rising. Afraid of medical debt. Afraid of being too old, too young, too poor, too late. They would see people living inside a kind of invisible weather. Not rain. Not snow. Not hunger from a failed hunt. Money weather. A storm made of numbers. And the strangest part is that the storm is not in the sky. It is in agreements. It is in contracts. It is in screens. It is in systems most people cannot see clearly, but everyone can feel. This might be the hardest part to explain. An ancient human understood direct danger. The animal is there. The fire is dying. The river is flooding. the food is gone. Modern money danger is different. The danger can be invisible until a letter arrives, until an account goes negative, until a payment is missed, until a price changes, until a job disappears, until an algorithm decides your labor is worth less. The threat is not always a thing you can point to. It is a rule. And humans are deeply vulnerable to rules. Rules can decide who eats first. Rules can decide who owns land. Rules can decide who belongs. Rules can decide who is punished. Rules can decide who gets to rest. Money is one of the largest rule systems ever built. And once the ancient human understood that, they might stop laughing. They might realize modern people are not bowing to paper. They are bowing to the system behind the paper. Then they would ask another question. Who made the system? That question would make everyone uncomfortable. Because the answer is not one person. Money was built slowly, across thousands of years. Through trade, debt, kings, temples, taxes, armies, banks, empires, markets, factories, governments, corporations, and now digital platforms. It did not fall from the sky. Humans made it. Then humans forgot that humans made it. That is one of the strangest things about modern life. We inherit systems so large that they feel like nature. Rent feels natural. Prices feel natural. Jobs feel natural. Debt feels natural. Bank accounts feel natural. But none of these things are as old as hunger, warmth, fear, love, sleep, or the need to belong. They are inventions, powerful inventions, useful inventions, sometimes necessary inventions, but inventions. An ancient human would remind us of that. They would look at a supermarket and think it was a miracle. Thousands of foods from places no single person could walk to. Fruit in winter, meat wrapped in plastic, salt, sugar, spices, milk, bread, coffee, rice, fish, all gathered in one glowing cave. They would see abundance beyond imagination. Then they would watch someone stand in front of all that food and not be able to take it because their card declined. That would look like madness. Food is there. Hunger is there. The person is there. But the symbol says, no. This is the moment the ancient human would understand the cruelty of money. Money can organize abundance, but it can also block access to abundance. It can connect strangers, but it can also separate people from what is right in front of them. It can reward effort, but it can also reward ownership, timing, inheritance, manipulation, scarcity, and luck. Money is not evil by itself. That would be too simple. Money is a tool, but it is a tool so powerful that it changes the mind of whoever lives under it. It changes what people notice. It changes what people fear. It changes what people admire. It changes how people measure themselves. That might shock ancient humans even more than the paper. They would see people compare invisible numbers. Net worth, salary, credit score, monthly income. Followers turned into income. Homes turned into status. Cars turned into rank. Clothes turned into signals. Vacations turned into proof. Suddenly, money is not only a way to get things, it becomes a way to tell people who they are. That is dangerous. Because humans are social animals. We do not only want to survive, we want to know where we stand. In a small ancient group, status might come from strength, generosity, skill, wisdom, courage, storytelling, healing, hunting, childcare, memory, or knowing where water is. In modern life, money can swallow all of those signals. The rich person looks successful. The poor person looks like they failed, even when the truth is more complicated. A kind person can be broke. A skilled person can be underpaid. A selfish person can be wealthy. A lucky person can look brilliant. A trapped person can look lazy. Money turns messy human lives into numbers that seem simple. And simple numbers are easy to worship. An ancient human might find this spiritually disturbing. They would ask why people let numbers decide their worth. They would ask why someone with food, shelter, family, music, and a body that still works can feel like a failure because a number is too low. They would ask why someone can have more than they could ever use and still feel poor next to someone with more. They would ask why the richest people still chase more. That question cuts deep. Why does more money often create the need for even more money? Because money does not only buy survival. It buys distance from fear. It buys options. It buys privacy. It buys time. It buys the ability to say no. It buys escape from bad bosses, bad neighborhoods, bad choices, and bad emergencies. That is why people chase it so hard. They are not always chasing luxury. Sometimes they are chasing relief. And relief is addictive. If one amount makes you feel safer, a larger amount seems like it should make you feel safe forever. But forever safe is a feeling money keeps promising and rarely delivers. Because the mind adjusts. The lifestyle grows. The comparison group changes. The fear moves to a higher floor. The person who once dreamed of paying rent now fears losing a house. The person who once dreamed of a car now fears losing a status. The person who once dreamed of freedom now fears falling backward. Money solves real problems, but it also creates new, imagined cliffs. This is why an ancient human might see modern money as both medicine and poison. Medicine because it can protect you from hunger, exposure, illness, and dependency. Poison because it can teach you to turn life into a scoreboard. Medicine because it allows strangers to cooperate across the planet. Poison because it can make strangers compete for things they do not even need. Medicine because it stores effort. Poison because it can detach reward from effort completely. Medicine because it lets you plan the future. Poison because it can trap your whole mind inside the future. The ancient human would notice that modern people are rarely satisfied in the present. They are always preparing for a future number. When I make more, I will relax. When I save more, I will feel secure. When I earn more, I will be respected. When I buy this, I will become someone else. When I hit that number, I will finally breathe. But then, the number moves. That is the hidden cruelty of a money-based identity. There is always another number, another income level, another house, another car, another business, another investment, another person online making you feel behind. The scoreboard has no final level. Ancient humans understood enough. Enough food for the group, enough firewood, enough safety for the night, enough shelter from the storm, enough trust to sleep. Modern people struggle with enough because money is abstract. You can always imagine more of it. You can always count more. You can always fear not having enough later. The ancient human's hunger ended when the body was fed. Modern financial hunger can continue after the body is safe. That is not because modern people are greedy by nature. It is because money turns fear into math. And math can go on forever. There is another thing ancient humans would find strange. Debt. Debt is time travel with pressure attached. It means future you must pay for present you. It means tomorrow has already been partially claimed. To an ancient human, owing someone might make sense. You helped me. I help you later. You shared food. I return the favor. But modern debt is different. It can grow while you sleep. It can multiply through interest. It can outlive the thing you bought. It can follow you for years. It can turn education, illness, housing, or survival into a long, invisible chain. Imagine explaining interest to an ancient human. You borrowed 10 baskets. Now you owe 12, then 15, then 20. Even if no new baskets were created, they might ask where the extra baskets came from. And the answer would be uncomfortable. They came from the rule. Again, the rule becomes more powerful than the object. This is why money can feel supernatural. Not because it breaks reality, because it creates a second reality on top of reality. There is the physical world. Food, water, land, bodies, tools, homes, energy. And then there is the money world. Prices, loans, accounts, interest, credit, markets, ownership, insurance, taxes, subscriptions, rent. The money world is invisible, but it controls access to the physical world. That is what would disturb the ancient human most. They would not say modern humans are more free. They might say modern humans are surrounded by abundance, but trapped by symbols. They might also notice that money changes time. In ancient life, time followed the body and the environment. Sunrise, hunger, weather, season, firelight, sleep, migration, birth, Death. Modern time is often money time. Hourly wage, monthly rent, annual salary, payment due, subscription renews, interest accrues, market opens, shift starts, deadline arrives. The clock becomes financial. Time is no longer just lived, time is billed. This is why a modern person can feel guilty for resting. Rest becomes lost productivity. A slow morning becomes wasted earning potential. A hobby becomes hard to justify unless it can become a side hustle. A quiet life starts to look like failure if it does not scale. An ancient human might find this tragic. They knew effort. They knew work. They knew danger. They knew exhaustion. But they may not understand why someone would turn every living moment into economic value. Why must every skill become income? Why must every interest become a brand? Why must every quiet moment be optimized? Why must a person prove they deserve to exist by producing constantly? That is not just money. That is money becoming a worldview. It teaches people to ask, what is this worth? Before they ask, what does this mean? It teaches people to ask, can this be monetized? Before they ask, does this make me alive? It teaches people to ask, how do I get ahead? Before they ask, ahead of what? The ancient human would also see something beautiful. Money allows impossible cooperation. A person can drink coffee grown across the ocean, wear clothes made by strangers, use a phone assembled through thousands of coordinated steps, send help to someone they have never met, save value for winter, support a child, build a hospital, pay musicians, teachers, builders, farmers, drivers, engineers, and cooks. Money lets strangers trust each other just enough to cooperate. That is not small. That is civilization-level power. So the ancient human would not simply hate money. They would be amazed by it. They would see its genius. They would see that money lets one person's labor become another person's food. It lets effort move across distance. It lets value travel through time. It lets a society become larger than the people who personally know each other. But they would also see the cost. The cost is that the symbol can become more important than the thing it was meant to serve. Money was supposed to help humans exchange value. But sometimes, humans begin exchanging their lives for money, then forgetting what value was supposed to mean. They spend health to get money, then spend money to repair health. They spend time to get money, then spend money to buy time. They sacrifice relationships for money, then use money to distract themselves from loneliness. They chase status with money, then discover status does not feel like belonging. This is the loop an ancient human would struggle to understand. Why build a system so powerful that people forget what they needed in the first place? Maybe because humans are brilliant, and humans are easily captured by their own inventions. Fire warmed us, then burned us. Tools helped us, then became weapons. Cities protected us, then trapped us. Screens connected us, then consumed our attention. Money organized us, then started measuring us. That is the pattern. Every powerful human invention begins as an answer, then becomes an environment, then becomes something we have to survive. The ancient human would stand in the modern city and see millions of people moving through money rituals. Buying coffee, scanned cards, paying rent, checking balances, comparing salaries, working late, refreshing stock prices, opening bills, applying for loans, dreaming about freedom. And they would realize something strange. Modern people are not free from survival. They have translated survival into numbers. Instead of finding food, they find income. Instead of defending a camp, they defend a credit score. Instead of watching the weather, they watch the market. Instead of fearing the dark forest, they fear the empty account. The fear changed shape, but it did not disappear. That is the real answer. Ancient humans would think modern money is magic, madness, and machinery all at once.